All right, ready for chapter 2 of Lady Lollipop. So, as a quick refresher, and I also want you to be practicing doing our 5 finger summary. What are the characters we've been introduced to so far? We have Queen Ethelwine, we have King Theophilus, and Princess Penelope. Where's the setting right now? I'm assuming at their palace. The author doesn't give us specific information yet, and there's not really a problem yet. All we know is that Princess Penelope wants a pig for her 8th birthday. And so now, chapter 2's title is A Bit of a Strange Name. Wonder who has a strange name. Chapter 2. The first thing that the king did was to issue a royal proclamation, which stated that every pig keeper in the kingdom was commanded to bring 1 pig to the palace at a certain time on the day of Princess Penelope's 8th birthday. That way, said the king to the queen, our Penelope will have the widest possible choice. So when the time came, dozens and dozens of pig keepers gathered in the great park in the center of which the palace stood. Each man had brought 1 pig in a cart or on a rope, or if small enough, in his arms. And what a selection there was! There were big pigs and middle-sized pigs and little pigs. There were pigs with upright ears or droopy ears, with long snouts or pushed-in faces. And as for color, why, there were pigs of every imaginable hue. Now, a synonym for hue is color, so there were pigs of any color. Many were whitish, of course, but some were black, some reddish, and some striped, some spotted, all lined up on the green grass of the great park, ready for the princess's inspection. Most of the pig keepers knew that the princess was a very spoiled child, and many of them expected that she would not be satisfied with just 1 pig. The king and queen rather expected this too, and they kept their fingers crossed as they walked along the lines behind the birthday girl. But far from choosing lots, the princess passed from pig to pig, and all she said was, "No." "Do you like this one, Penelope, darling?" the king would say. "No." Or this one, perhaps, the queen would say. "No." But after a bit, they gave up asking because no became no. "I'll tell you when I find the one I want," said the little princess. "Just stop nagging me." Each pig keeper was, of course, very disappointed as the inspection party passed him by, for to have had his pig chosen to live at the court would have been the greatest honor. So that was kind of a long, confusingly worded sentence. And I want you to be thinking about that as we read this. It's supposed to be about royalty, so it's very formal language. We talk about formal and informal, so this is very formal language, which sounds a little bit awkward. So it's saying that the inspection party passed by, and if your pig was chosen, it would have been a great honor. So if your pig was decided to be the royal pig, they would be very proud. But it was beginning to look as though the princess simply couldn't find anything she liked. Whatever the size or shape or color, she merely scowled and shook her head and marched on. Now, scowl is a big vocabulary word. Scowl is a facial expression you make when you're grumpy, angry, frustrated, and I know we all have different scowls. So think that someone took your favorite stuffy or book from your bed, and that face that you're making right now, that's a scowl. Until there was only 1 animal left at the very end of the last of the lines of pigs of all sorts. The last pig the king and queen could see was quite different from all the other fat, well-groomed animals. They say that pig keepers tend to look rather like their charges, and most of the owners were, if not well-groomed, on the fat side. So they say the pigs look like their owners. But the last pig was a long, skinny creature held on the end of a piece of a string by a long, skinny boy. It was a dirty white in color, and the boy looked none too clean. So they were both dirty. Princess Penelope pointed at this last pig. "Want that one," she said. But darling, said the king, you can't have that one. It's the scruffiest, ugliest pig in the lot. That's not kind. Is not, shouted the princess, and she folded her arms and scowled furiously at her father. Now all the pig keepers in the great park fell silent, and so even did their pigs. Everyone wanted to see who would win this battle, the king, monarch of all he surveyed, or his spoiled little daughter. But before either could say a further word, to everyone's surprise, the last pig owner spoke. You're right, miss, said the boy to the princess. You've picked the best one. Scruffy and ugly she may be, like your dad says, but she's the brightest, cleverest pig you ever did see. Just watch this. Then he said to his pig, sit. And she sat. And down. And she lay down. And roll over. And she rolled over. And stand. And she stood up again, looking up at the boy and waiting for the next command. Will you look at that? Said the other pig keepers in astonishment, while their pigs voiced their amazement in a flurry of grunting. I trained her myself, said the long, skinny boy, and he handed her the end of the string to the princess. He swallowed, as though there were a lump in his throat. I shall be ever so sorry to see her go, he said. She's all I've got. You must have a mother or father, haven't you? Said the queen. No, I'm an orphan. And so that word orphan, remember when Mrs. Kangas was teaching about the musical Annie? So Annie was an orphan, which means she didn't have parents to live with. So he is saying all he has as his family right now is this little pig. Oh, well, don't worry, said Princess Penelope. Daddy will get you another pig. And she took hold of the animal's string and said, sit. The pig remained standing. The princess stamped her foot. Sit, she shouted again, but nothing happened. Choose another pig, Penelope, my love, said King Theophilus. This creature only obeys the boy. To everyone's surprise, the princess did not shout and yell at this. Instead, she stood, hands on her hips, facing her father, and said in a very quiet voice, I want this pig. Oh, said the king. Sorry, he said to the boy. She wants your pig. Could I come and see her now and again, the boy said. The pig, I mean. He turned to the princess. Could I, miss, please? Now, as this oddly assorted couple of children faced one another, the princess in a new expensive party frock, or dress, the boy half a head taller, in his torn and dirty clothes, something quite unexpected happened. The princess smiled. Whether it was because she felt some pity for the boy, or whether she'd worked out that he'd be useful for jobs like mucking out the pig, or whether it was because the pig suddenly sat down before her and looked up into her eyes and gave a little grunt, no one knew. But those nearest saw her smiling, first at the pig and then at the ragged boy. What's your name? She said. Johnny, miss. Johnny Skinner. All right, Johnny Skinner, said Princess Penelope. You can be my personal pig keeper. You can go on looking after this pig, which is now my pig, my birthday pig. Understood? Yes, miss, said Johnny. But darling, began the queen. But Penelope, began the king. But nothing, said the princess. Come on, Johnny. And they marched. And back they marched along the lines, the princess with her birthday present, then Johnny Skinner, then King Theophilus, and then Queen Ethelwine. By the way, said the princess over her shoulder to the new pig keeper, what's her name, this pig of mine? Well, miss, said Johnny, it's a bit of a strange name, really. That's what I've always called her. What is it? Lollipop.